Oh, shit. Okay. Hey, guys.
Good morning, Your Honor.
We had some technical difficulty. By me trying to set up my own Zoom channel, computer got confused with Judge McKegg's Zoom channel, and we were trying all kind of passwords. But either way, we're here, so that's a good thing. Before we start, let me make sure. Robin, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, and let's check with everybody else. I see the district clerk's here. Mr. Hernandez, I assume you're the interpreter, sir? Okay, and
Yes, I am.
okay, and the one that says Grimes, who's that?
My name is James Cravey. I'm with the probation department.
Okay, let me turn up my speaker. Mr. Cravey, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Armbruster, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. And then Manuel Camacho, who is this?
That's the mom.
I'm sorry. Who is that?
That should be the mother. Can
Okay, that's the mother of the defendant.
Jose? Yes.
All right. So do we have? I guess everybody's here then. Is that correct?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Well, it's 9 o'clock, and so we'll go ahead do some housekeeping things for the record. This hearing is conducted on the Zoom telephone conference application due to COVID-19 and also being broadcast live on the 506 YouTube channel. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call this case. So Robin, let's go ahead and start. This is case number 18123, the state of Texas versus Jose Alfredo Zuniga-Rodriguez. Is that correct? Is that not how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay. And okay, Mr. Armbruster, would you please state your name and for the record?
Yes, Your Honor. My name is David Armbruster. I represent the state of Texas in these proceedings.
Okay, Mr. Barrientos.
Your Honor, I represent the defendant, Jose Alfredo Zuniga.
Okay. And we have the interpreter, Mr. Hernandez. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and swear you, Mr. Hernandez. Could you raise your right hand? Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will make a true translation of the statements of the court, the questions of counsel, and the testimony to be given by the witness or witnesses in the matter before this court today to the best of your skill and judgment?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. And it's my understanding for the record, we need your number, your interpreter number.
Yes, sir. My license number is 127.
I'm sorry, 127.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, Mr. Does he prefer just Mr. Rodriguez, or does he prefer Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez? I'm sorry? Mr. Barrientos, how does your client prefer to be addressed? Is just Mr. Rodriguez fine? Or
Jose Zuniga, or, I would assume, let me ask him, Jose, how do you prefer people to refer to you? Jose Zuniga, is that okay? Or what do you prefer? What's that?
You like Mr. Zuniga? Is that correct? Okay, that's fine. We'll just go with it. All right. Well, Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, if you'll raise your right hand, and I guess any other witnesses that are going to be testifying today. Ms. Camacho, could you raise your right hand?
My assistant.
We have.
Mano derecha, por favor.
Yeah.
You've already been sworn. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you may give in this matter before this court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Solemnemente jura o afirma que el testimonio que dará en este caso será la verdad y nada más que la verdad.
Sí, la verdad.
Yes, true.
Okay. So Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, yes, true? You understand? Okay. Ms. Camacho
Señorita Camacho,
Yes, yes,
in the probation department, yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
puede bajar la mano. Puede
All right.
bajar la mano.
oh, sorry.
Okay. Mr. Barrientos, is your client competent to proceed in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So the court finds based on counsel statements and based on its own observation of Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez that the defendant is competent in this matter. Okay, Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, do you understand if you are not a citizen of the United States of America, a plea of true today and a finding of guilt before me for the offense charged may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission to this country, or a denial of naturalization under federal law? Mr. Hernandez, would you going to repeat that so he understands?
Es-
I'm going to let him know about his issues as far as deportation. When I explain that to him, I'll go slow, and I just want to make sure he understands his rights. Okay.
Your Honor,
Go ahead, Ms.
Uh,
Barry.
now, are we referring to the defendant, Jose Zuniga?
Yes.
He understands English, Judge. I don't think we need an interpreter.
The interpreter is for the
Oh.
mother, Your Honor.
I'm sorry.
The interpreter is for the mother of the
Oh,
defendant.
for the mother. Oh, so sorry. Did not realize that. Thank you. Okay. Well, then, Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, since you understand, do you understand that if you are not a citizen of the United States of America, a plea of true and a finding of guilt before me for the offense charge may result in your deportation, the exclusion from admission to this country, or denial of naturalization under federal law? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm further informing you that under the laws of this state, anyone found guilty of the offense of manufacture or delivery of substance in penalty group 1-4G may be punished by any term in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice of not less than 2 years, nor more than 20 years, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. Do you understand the range of punishment in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you, bear with me, guys, I'm trying to, my first time to share screen here. Okay, y'all. You see the judgment or something else up?
I see the judgment, Your Honor.
Okay, you do see the judgment? Okay, Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, do you recognize this document? Judgment deferring adjudication.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you discussed this document with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it says on January 5th of 2017, up here in the corner, that you entered into this agreement, this agreed judgment, in this case, and you were placed on, and that the judgment was deferred and would not be adjudicated unless there was an issue in violation of this judgment. Do you understand that?
Your Honor.
Okay. Is this your signature
Yes, Your Honor.
on the last page? Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, isn't it true that by signing this document on January 5th, 2017, you entered into a plea of guilty to the charge of manufacturing or delivery of substance in penalty group 1-4G based on deferred adjudication? You remember that. You understand that, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, let me find. Trying to get out of this. All right. Okay. All right, Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, do you recognize this document? State's second amended motion to adjudicate,
Yes, Your Honor.
okay? And you've spoken with your attorney about this, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes,
All
Your
right. And Mr. Barrientos, you've talked to him about this motion that we're here on today, is that correct?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. I've reviewed the motion along with the state's allegations alleging that the defendant violated the conditions of his deferred adjudication.
Okay, and you definitely went over the violations.
Yes, Your Honor. I met with him 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks. I think I met with him approximately 4 hours and 2 hours and 2 visits, followed up with an additional meeting. And I met with him several times, Judge, 3 or 4 times in the last 2.5 weeks, approximately. I've reviewed these conditions with him several times.
Okay, well, let me go ahead for the record and go over them because we're not talking about too many violations here. Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, do you see the on page 1 here?
Yes,
It says that in part of the agreement you made that we discussed, the judgment that we just discussed, you were to avoid injurious or vicious habits and abstain from the use of any harmful substance, including any controlled substance, dangerous drug, or controlled substance analog in any form. I apologize, guys. I need to inform you, we're in a new building and they haven't gotten the light situation working. And so my lights just randomly go off if I don't move enough. So you're going to see me go in and out of the dark and waving my hands crazy. So I apologize for that. But, okay, so a substance inform except as prescribed by a licensed physician or legitimate medical purpose. The violation alleged is that you failed to abstain from the use of drugs by admitting to the use of marijuana on or about September 24th, 2019. An admission statement was signed to that effect. The other alleged violation was you were required to pay to the county community supervision and correction department a supervision fee of $60 per month every month of the probation period to be due on the first day of the month, beginning in the next month following entry of this order. The violation alleged is that defendant failed to pay supervision fees of $60 per month. The defendant paid $0 and is delinquent $2,760. The motion also contends that it alleges that you were required to submit to an evaluation by a supervision officer or by a program, person, or facility approved by the Texas Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse for the purpose of having the facility prescribe and carry out a course of conduct necessary for the rehabilitation of any drug or alcohol dependence condition. You are to cooperate and participate in any recommended plan of treatment. The alleged violation is that you failed to submit to an alcohol drug evaluation as directed, and that you failed to report for said evaluation on March 26th of 2020. Also, the defendant you failed to pay costs incurred for an alcohol drug evaluation in the amount of $15. The next alleged violation included that you were required within 180 days of the date of this order, of the original judgment order, attend and successfully complete a drug offender education course authorized by Article 6687B, Vernon's Texas Civil Statutes. The alleged violation, the defendant failed to attend and successfully complete a drug offender education course within 180 days of the date of the order. And finally, you were required to perform 300 hours of community service in the Grimes County Community Service Diversion Program within 36 months from the date of this order. Said community service shall be performed at the rate of 10 hours per month, per month/week under Article 42.12, Section 11A10. Unless specifically permitted, community service hours are to be performed in Grimes County. The alleged violation, the defendant failed to perform 300 hours of community service. The defendant performed 3 hours and is delinquent 297 hours.
Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor,
Yes.
if you go back to the second page on scroll to the top, there were 2 violations, number 4 and number 6 that you didn't read, Your Honor.
Oh, I apologize. I must have the screen.
Of course, sir.
Okay, two other violations that we need to have on the record is that original judgment, you were to report in person to the supervision officer at the county community supervision and corrections department as directed by the court and your supervision officer at least once each calendar month, beginning immediately and continuing until you are discharged from community supervision, and obey all rules and regulations of the community supervision and corrections department as provided for you under Article 42.12, Section 11A.4. The alleged violation is you failed to report in person on a monthly basis for the months of May 2017, June 2017, July 2017, August 2017, September 2017, October 2017, November 2017, and December 2017. You also failed to appear on January 2018, February 2018, March 2018, April 2018, May 2018, June 2018, July 2018, August 2018, September 2018, October 2018, November 2018, and December 2018. You also failed to report in person as of January 2019, as of February 2019, as of March 2019, as of April 2019, as of May 2019, as of June 2019, as of July 2019, as of August 2019, and also you failed to report as of January 2020, February 2020, March 2020, June 2020, and July 2020. And so these are the alleged violations of that part of the judgment. The last one, the judgment stated that you were to work faithfully at a suitable employment and notify your supervising officer within 48 hours of any change in said employment. Support your dependents that you have now or that you may acquire during the term of this probation, and report the sources and amounts of all income or money received and all debts and expenditures to your supervision officer. Violation alleged is that you failed to work faithfully at suitable employment for the months of November and December of 2019, failed to work for January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September of 2020. Okay, and do you understand all these allegations made against you today,
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Judge, for the record, what is the title to that motion? I have state's First Amendment motion to adjudicate.
Actually,
Although-
this state's second amended motion to adjudicate, and it was filed. I can put it back on the screen if that helps.
Could the state judge for the one I have is the First Amendment? Can would y'all email me that one? That one's a little bit. That one is very similar to almost identical, but it's got a little bit additional information. Can y'all email me that copy, because I've got the First Amendment here.
I'm gonna get it in a few moments.
Yeah, that one was filed November 17th of 2020, so it's been on file more than 7 days. So.
They're essentially the same. It's basically the same thing, but I would like the current copy.
Okay. Any objection at this point for going forward on this motion?
Judge, we are prepared. Essentially, they're the same allegations. So I just need to go ahead and if I can get a copy of that second amended motion.
Mr. Umbrister said he's going to get that done. Okay. So back and Mr. I'm sorry, we got a little interrupted, but Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, you understand the allegations made by the state in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now this is important. I want you to listen to this. Do you understand that if you plead true today, because you're not going to plead true, guilty or not guilty, you can plead true to these allegations or false to these allegations. So you need to understand that if you plead true to the allegations alleged by the state, in all reasonable probability, I will find the allegations in the state's second amended motion to adjudicate your guilt to be true. And in all reasonable probability, I will find you guilty of the offense of manufacturing or delivery of substance in penalty group 1-4G. With that understanding, how do you plead to the state's allegations, true or false in this matter?
Your Honor, in behalf of my client, we would enter at this time, a plea of not true to all the paragraphs.
Okay. Uh, Okay, well, if that's the case, then, and both the prosecution and the defense are ready to proceed, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, can we take a 2-minute recess so I can print that document coming in?
Yeah, that's fine.
I just need to print it.
Yeah, that's fine, not a problem.
I just sent it to you.
Robin, you can go off the record for now.
Okay. Judge, when we go back on the record, could we have everyone who is not speaking at the time to mute? Because I'm getting a lot of background noise.
Okay, I can probably mute everybody and then bring them in and invite them back on. Let me see. Yeah, I can do that. Let me, I'm gonna leave Mr. Barrientos on. Because when he comes back, I'll know.
Sure, thank you.
You bet.
We're ready, Your Honor.
Okay, let me unmute Mr. Ambrose. Mr. Armbruster, can you, yeah, you're good. I didn't want you to be muted. Okay. All right, go ahead. You can proceed. Prosecution can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for the record, just to clarify, Mr. Zuniga pled not true to all the allegations. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, right, Ms. Barrientos? He pled false.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very well, Your Honor. The state would call Mr. James Cravey to the stand.
Okay, and that's under crimes, right?
Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Your
Okay, I
Honor.
can hear you as well. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is James Cravey.
And how are you currently employed, Mr. Cravey?
I am a probation officer for Grimes County Community Service and Community Supervision Corrections Department.
And how long have you been employed with Grimes County Community Supervision Department?
A little over 12 years.
And you're a probation officer, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're certified as a probation officer, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you briefly tell the court what's required for certification in order to become a certified probation officer?
We are to, when somebody gets on probation, to explain to them their conditions of probation. We are to schedule them for office visits. We are to refer them to resources so that they can complete their conditions. We can refer them to additional resources for other issues that may affect their probation. We monitor their compliance either through payments, attendance, drug tests, and progress with either their classes that they have to take, community service that they have to perform, or counseling that they may have to attend. We also provide any additional guidance or references.
And Mr. Zuniga, well, let me ask you this way. Were you Mr. Zuniga's probation officer?
Yes.
And does the probationer, when he just assigned probation officer, does he bounce around or is he assigned to one probation officer?
Oh, well, he can be depending on the circumstances, he can be assigned one officer and then later reassigned to another officer.
In Mr. Zuniga's case, did that occur or were you his probation officer the entire time?
Not from the beginning, no.
Okay. Do you know who was the probation officer in the beginning?
It was Case Aide Maria Lopez.
Okay. Now, Ms. Lopez, and I'm assuming yourself as well, do you keep records of your probation or contacts with the individual?
Yes.
And those records, are they kept at the time of the events that they occur?
Yes, they are.
And have you reviewed those records?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with Mrs. Zuniga's probation conduct, if you will?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, let me ask you, we'll start with the very first violation. The very first violation that was alleged by the, alleged in the motion to adjudicate, the very first violation was to avoid vicious habits or abstain from the use of any harmful substance, including controlled substance, dangerous drug, controlled substance analog in any form, except as prescribed or licensed physician for medical purposes, or legitimate medical purposes. It states here the defendant failed to abstain from use of drugs by admitting to the drug use on or about September 24, 2019. It also states that he signed an admission to that effect. Did he sign an admission to that effect?
Yes, sir, he did.
And he acknowledged that he used marijuana while on probation?
Yes, sir, he did.
And is a marijuana an illegal drug in the state of Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it common for individuals to admit to drug use to the probation officers?
It does happen. They do admit.
Okay. So it's not unusual for a defendant to admit to you. Is that correct?
It's not unusual.
Okay. And was he coerced or threatened or badgered in order to make that confession?
I did not see anything in the records that said Mrs. Lopez had done so.
Okay. He was also, the second allegation is required to report in person to supervision officer to Community Supervision Corrections Department, that's you all, for a number of months since he was placed on probation. And he failed to appear for a number of months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, almost 3 years when he was on probation, he did not report. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is true.
Okay. Now I understand that there was some time that he was apparently in ICE custody. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Do you know what time frame that was he was in ICE custody?
I believe around January 27th, 2017, he was in jail at that time. So I believe that around on or about that date, there was a hold.
Okay. And when did he get out of ICE custody? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
When was he released from ICE custody? Do you know?
Yes. He was on July 2nd, 2018, I received an email from ICE officer Jeff Vanette that he was granted cancellation of removal from an immigration judge. He will not be removed. I do not have a date of when he was.
Okay. But sometime after July, or I'm sorry, July of 2018, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so assuming that he couldn't report from January to July 2018, assuming, Was there any reason why that you were aware of that he couldn't report it in August, September, October, November, from 2018 all the way until now? Was there some reason, some justification that you're aware of?
I am not aware. No, sir.
Okay. Did anyone modify his probation while he was in ICE? Well, it's, for clarification, when I speak about ICE, I'm talking about immigration, customs, and immigration customs enforcement. That's the department I'm talking about. While he was in their custody, did anybody modify or alter his probation in any manner?
The only thing was that we did delete the safe. I believe we deleted the safety condition.
Okay, so he was one of the conditions to go to safe people. We're not alleging he didn't go to safe people.
Right.
Okay. But he still was required to report in.
Yes, he was.
He was still required to abstain from illegal drugs.
Yes, he was.
He was still required to work faithfully in employment.
Yes, he was.
And he was still required to make supervision fees when he reported in.
Yes, he was.
And he was still required to submit to a drug and alcohol evaluation.
Yes, he was.
And he was still required to complete a drug offenders education course.
Yes, he was.
And he was still required to do community service. Is that correct?
Yes, he was.
So none of the things that were alleged that was somehow changed or altered because of his ICE period. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about working faithfully at suitable employment. So we've determined that even if we gave him the benefit of the doubt, and we said July of 2018, he still missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 months of reporting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now it's alleged that he's supposed to work faithfully at suitable employment. And we're alleging that from November, December of 2019, January, February, March, May, June, July, August, and September of 2020, he did not work at suitable employment. How do we determine that?
On June 30th, 2020, well, he had,
did he indicate he was working?
yes, he did say that he was working at Navasota Tire Depot.
Okay, when we say he, we're talking about the defendant, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Zuniga, yes.
Okay, so he stated he was working at this tire place?
Right.
Okay, did you contact that location to determine or to inquire about his employment?
Yes, on June 30th, 2020, I called them.
And when you contacted him, were you able to determine whether or not he was employed with them during the months of November, December 2019, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September 2020?
They said that no, he had not been working there.
Okay.
They said he had not worked there for 3 years.
Okay, so when he said that he was working there, that he wasn't being truthful to the probation department, is that correct?
The representative said that he had not been there for.
Okay. All right, and he was required to pay some supervision fees, $60 per month. In our allegations, he is in arrears $2,760 at the time of this filing. Has he ever, since he's been on probation, paid any probation fees?
Right now, I don't think we have a record of having to pay.
So we have no record of him ever making any payments. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, he was also required to do an evaluation for an alcohol and drug evaluation in March 26th of 2020. Did he attend that evaluation?
No, he did not.
Okay. He was also supposed to pay for that evaluation in the form of $15. Did he pay for that evaluation?
No, he did not.
Okay. And again, when I say he, we're talking about the defendant.
Mr. Zuniga did not, no.
Of course, it is my fault. He was also supposed to attend a successfully completed drug offenders education course with 180 days of his order. Now, did he at any time while he's been on probation, at any time, has he completed a drug offenders education program?
We have no record of having received a certificate of Mr. Zuniga completing that course.
So we have no indication he's ever attended or performed any kind of drug offenders education program. Is that correct?
Oh, we do not have a record of that, no, sir.
And he was also required to perform 300 hours of community service since he was placed on probation. And if I'm correct, I just want to confirm this. He was placed on probation January 5th of 2017. Is that correct?
That's true. Yes, sir.
So since January 5th of 2017, we recorded him as performing 3 hours of that community service. Is that correct?
That's 3 hours. Yes, that's correct.
Do we have any record? Has he provided any record, anything at all, that he's performed any other community service besides those 3 hours?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, the defendant we're speaking about is Mr. Let me get his name correct here. I don't want to mess this name up. And I know I'm going to mispronounce this, and I apologize. Jose Alfredo Zuniga-Rodriguez. Do you recognize that individual in this Zoom hearing today?
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you identify by an article of clothing that he's wearing which individual we're talking about?
Mr. Zuniga presently is wearing an orange and white jail issue uniform.
May the record reflect that the defendant or the witness has identified the defendant as the probationer, Your Honor?
Yes, record will reflect.
Now, Mr. Zuniga actually had a number of violations going all the way back to the very first month that he was due to report. As a matter of fact, his violations, for example, the community service hours, he was supposed to start those right away. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the drug offenders education program, he was supposed to do that within 6 months of reporting for probation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he was supposed to start paying the supervision fees right away. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And
The following month. The following month.
Okay, the following month. So, and
Yes.
he was supposed to report in starting that very first month as well. Is that correct?
That is true.
Okay. And so he actually, if I'm understanding this correctly, he actually violated his probation from month one. Is that correct?
As far as the reporting and payments, yes.
Okay. So there were actually technical violations from the very first moment that Mr. Zuniga's been on probation or been on deferred adjudication. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Based on your training and experience as a probation officer for over 12 years, do you have a recommendation as what should occur with this defendant concerning his deferred adjudication?
Yes, sir. We recommend that he be adjudicated guilty and be required to serve a term of confinement in Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division.
Now, you're not making a recommendation at a specific time. You're leaving that up to the court. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And your opinion that he should be adjudicated, is that based on your evaluation of his likelihood to successfully complete any more probation?
We do not believe he would be successful.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Mr.
Yes, Mr. James Cravey. Let's go back a little bit in time. Let's go back to the very beginning. We've got January the 5th of 2017. That is the original judgment was entered where Mr. Zuniga was placed on deferred adjudication with a condition of safe P. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. It also appears that on January the 27th at 2017, a motion to modify conditions of community supervision was filed.
Yes.
Okay. At that time, the state alleged by their motion that the defendant had an ice hole and therefore was not eligible for safety. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct.
All right. Let's go back a little bit again, back to January the 5th, 2017. The defendant was placed in custody. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right. At that time, did he have an ice hole based on your recollection?
I believe he did, yes.
On January the 5th, the first day he went into the county jail?
I do not know the exact date of when he had the ice hold. I think eventually.
Quick clarification, January 5th of 2017?
Yes, that's when he was granted deferred adjudication. Safety is a condition.
That's when the ice hold, that's your question, did the ice hold start then?
I was asking if he remembered that before Mr. Zuniga entered the county jail, the Grimes County Jail, whether an ice hold was already placed on him. Oh, in other words, he goes in on January the 5th, 2017. We're submitting he didn't have an ice hold. He goes in on January the 5th of 2017. Between January the 5th and 2017 and the date, the state files a motion to modify on the 27th of January.
Hold on. I'm just trying to get a timeline. I'm confused.
Yes.
Was he in jail when you worked out the judgment and in the deferred adjudication was granted, or was he?
I'm sorry, Judge. He had a prior attorney.
Okay,
so
you don't know if he was on bond or if he was out, and then I'm just trying to figure out. Okay.
Well,
trying to figure out when the ice hold happened, whether he was.
Well, apparently nobody really knows when the ice hold was placed, but the ice hold can't be placed unless the individual's in custody. That's how the ICE would have put a hold on him. So it just seems like a very short time to go in on January the 5th, 2017, and then 20 days later you got an ice hold and they're already taking your safety away from you. I mean, the state filed a motion to modify, removing safety within a span of 20 days.
And the state's not making an allegation that there was a violation of that safety.
No, I think
Hold
Yeah,
on just a second. Excuse
Yes.
me. We have to talk one at a time. I can't take down two people talking over one another. Mr. Armbruster, if you could come closer to your microphone. I'm having a little bit, and there's a lot of feedback still. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, I think I understand what's going on. Let's just go ahead and handle this with the proper.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
Ask the questions and then we'll.
Yes.
I'll give you guys an opportunity to kind of make a closing.
Okay. Mr. Gravy.
Gravy.
Yes. Back to on the motion to modify, do you remember if you went to the jailhouse and
Yes.
reviewed this? You did?
Yes.
You have a copy of that motion?
Yes. We had a waiver of hearing, motion to modify community supervision. Yes, we do.
Okay. Isn't it also true that he refused to sign that on the motion to modify? Safety?
During the jail visit on January 27th, yes, he did not want to sign.
Okay, so essentially the modification to remove safety was executed without his consent.
That's true.
All right. Now, you made a lot of statements that he was supposed to pay and do all these things from day one. Isn't it true that he was incarcerated on January the 5th, 2017?
Yes, that is true.
Isn't it also true he remained incarcerated on January the 27th,
Yes,
2017?
Yes, it is.
Isn't it true that ICE came, he had an ICE hold, right?
Yes,
Right.
it is.
Okay, so he really can't pay any money, right? Or report or do anything?
Well, for January, he didn't have to pay.
All right. Now, in February, March, April, he was in ICE custody for a while?
I believe he was, yes.
All right. So essentially, he can't pay or report or do anything for at least initially because of the ICE problem. I mean, he's locked up. There's no way he can do anything.
If he could have called,
From ICE custody?
perhaps, or
All right.
if somebody could have paid on his behalf, we would have accepted it.
All right. But he individually cannot work while he's under custody with
No.
ICE. All right. So moving along, isn't it true that nobody from probation told Mr. Zuniga that if you get released from ICE custody, come report to us immediately or check back with us? Isn't that true?
That could be correct, yes.
All right. So it was going back to the timeline. It looks like he was served with a notice. Notice looks. Let me look at the allegation here. He's got a on September the 24th, 2019. Around that time, he reported that time. Am I correct?
That is true. He did report that day.
And he was served to appear at his probation.
What day was that again?
That was on September 24th, 2019. That's what he reported to probation.
When was he released from the ICE hold?
Well, we're going to, my understanding, Judge, he was in ICE, of course, the defendant would have to, substantiate that. My understanding, he was in ICE custody for about 4 months. I may be incorrect, but I believe he was there for about 4 months. So during this time period, unfortunately, I don't think anybody told him that if he gets released to check back with probation, he's to immediately report.
Okay, you can go ahead with your next question.
Okay, it's in a, James, can I call you James?
Yes.
Hello?
Oh, and
Okay.
the cancellation of removal was May 19th, 2017.
All right. Okay, but y'all, when did y'all become aware? Well, isn't it true that on July the 2nd, 2018, probation became aware that the defendant had been released?
Yes, we were aware by that time. Yes.
And it wasn't until September 25th of 2019 that he was served with the warrant.
I know that he reported on the 25th. Maria Lopez has him reporting.
That's 2019, am I correct?
Yeah, September, I'm looking at the office visit right now. It says that he reported on, but I'm not seeing a record of arrest. What she said,
Okay.
He was advised to report CSCD office daily, Monday through Friday, 8 noon to 1 to 5 p.m. to complete CSR.
Excuse me, Mr. Cravey, I can't hear you.
I apologize. The last entry on 9/25/2019 is defendant was scheduled next appointment 9/26/19, 1:30 p.m. to complete substance abuse evaluation to complete community service or CSR. And
All right.
he acknowledged understanding.
Okay. Now going back to that
And what
admission,
was that? When was that?
On September 25th, 2019, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Bruin.
in regards to the state's allegation that the defendant admitted to using marijuana, y'all did not independently verify that with a lab test?
No, sir, we did not. We just, I believe you just took an admission from me.
Okay, all right. Now, there was also some statements on your part that that the defendant did not complete the drug education program within 180 days. And that was from the date of the order. That's what the state is alleging on paragraph 15, paragraph 25 of the motion. Is that true?
That is true.
Now, but you also understand that he was in ICE custody for a substantial amount of time.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
So theoretically, it would be pretty difficult to do it within 180 days if you're incarcerated.
I agree.
All right. Okay. Now, if you take the entire motion, the state is alleging basically he didn't pay, he didn't report. And he had a admission of marijuana. There must have been a reason why y'all wanted to put him in safety. I wasn't handling his case, but a safety is a traditional program that treats drug dependency of a severe kind. Am I correct?
Yes, it is. It addresses drug issues.
Okay. Now, it doesn't appear he was treated then at all. Am I correct? For drug problems, at least according to the state's motion for probation, there's nothing in here.
You mean?
Well, he was supposed to go to safety, and almost immediately he was held to be ineligible. And then, am I correct?
That is true.
All right. Now, everything you know today, what you knew back at the time you were handling.
Mr. Burns, just ask a question. Does Mr. Umbers, do you mind if I ask a question?
Of course not, Charlie.
Yes.
Probation, why did y'all find him ineligible for safety?
Because he did have an ICE hold during the intake. It was during the intake. It was discovered he had an ICE hold.
Okay.
He was and plus he had to be transported to Grimes County Jail. That day of his intake. But there was an ICE hold, and if there's an ICE hold, then safety is not going to take somebody with a pending charge, because it would be very disruptive for their counseling and supervision there. If at any time he could be taken into ICE custody while in the middle of a safety program, Your Honor.
Are you aware if he's eligible now for that?
I'm not aware of any other ICE violations.
But I think if I may address the question.
Well, we can wait. I just want to
Okay.
know if you do that. We'll come back after.
I don't believe there. Besides this one pending charge, I'm not aware of anything else. But
Right, Mr. Francis, you can go ahead. Next question.
Okay. Now, the state is not alleging that the defendant has committed a new felony offense or a new, I mean, other than the admission about using marijuana, we're really talking about technicals. Am I correct, James?
yes.
Okay. So, Judge, I think that at this point I would pass the witness.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have
A
any
brief
other-
redirect, Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, let's talk about a few things here.
Yes.
No one modified his probation, is that correct? No one told him he didn't have to report, is that correct?
No, we never said.
Judge, I'm going to object, Your Honor. The question is ambiguous. I'm not exactly sure what the question is directing.
Hold on, Mr.
The
Francis.
question is,
Hold on. I didn't get anything you said, Mr. Francis. I don't know if it's because you were moving, but you're all choppy. No, Miss Wiley didn't hear
Okay,
you.
object.
You're still jumbled. Can you try to speak again?
Yes, Judge, for some reason that audio is going a little, the question is ambiguous.
It's bad.
I
okay.
believe he's saying that the question was vague, Your Honor.
Well, hold on.
Bigger ambiguous.
So let me understand. Mr. Ambrister said it's correct that your objection is that the question is vague.
Judge, can we take a technical break here? I need to, the audio is,
Yeah.
I'm beginning for audio. Let me see if I can work with my computer.
Yeah, go ahead. Try to fix
Get
it.
everything
We'll
working.
come back on in a minute. Ms. Wiley, if we'll just kind of go off the record for a minute.
Yes, sir.
See that? Are things better?
No, they're still a little choppy. I'm gonna have to mute for a second. Give me just if I can find out where mute is. Keep trying.
I don't know what happened. It's all of a sudden the audio's gone a little low. Judge? Everything is frozen.
It's not any better yet.
Let me see if I'm going to close some application on my side. See if that'll.
Okay, yeah, you're still pretty choppy. If we can't get it worked out, what we might can do is have you maybe call in. That's worked on occasion for me. Yeah, I don't even hear you now unless did I mute you by accident? No, you're not muted on my end. Now I can't even hear anything.
Can you hear me, Your Honor?
I can't. No, cannot hear you, Mr. Parentis. Now your video's even getting bad.
Oh, I know what's wrong.
Okay, it's better. Where'd you go? Mr. Parentis,
Oh, Judge, I'm coming.
I can hear you now.
I know what the problem is, about to fix it.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I think everything's back to order. Sorry, I'm sorry, Judge. There was a little bit of technical difficulty on my end, but I got it working now.
Let's go back on the record. And Mr. Armbruster, I apologize if you'd repeat the question.
Absolutely, Your Honor. I'll rephrase it just to make it more clear. While Mr. Zuniga was on probation, did anyone from the probation department instruct Mr. Zuniga that he did not have to report, or that his report requirements were modified in any manner?
No.
Okay. Even if we were to accept that he was unaware that he had to report until September of 2019, he still didn't report in January, February, March, June, or July of 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So even if we were to accept that he was somehow unaware that he was still on probation, after he was informed on September of 2020 or 2019, he still failed to report. Is that correct?
That's true.
Okay. Even if we were to accept that, well, let me go back. He admitted to marijuana use. He admitted to smoking marijuana. Is that correct?
That is true.
Okay. The drug offenders education program, he was required to take that within 180 days, but he's never taken that. Is that correct?
No, we have no record of him ever having taken it.
So if the defendant, no, that's it. He just never took it.
No, sir.
The state is not alleging that he failed to attend SAFE-P, is it?
No, we're not alleging that.
Okay. Would SAFE-P have instructed him? Would SAFE-P have told him something different about his duty to report in?
Your Honor, I would object speculation.
Based on your, I'll rephrase, Your Honor. I'll rephrase. Based on your knowledge and experience, particularly working with SAFE-P and working with other probationers, would SAFE-P have instructed him something different as to whether he needed to report or not?
Judge, I'm going to object that calls for hearsay, and it's also continues to be speculation.
Again, Your Honor, based on his training experience.
Hold on. I'm going to allow it because it's basic on their procedure. I'll allow it. So go ahead.
So would they have modified or told him he didn't have to report in or changed his report requirements?
I am not aware of SAFE-P ever telling a defendant that they would not have to report after.
Based on your training and experience, being a probation officer for 12 years, have you ever, in your experience, ever had SAFE-P modify someone's probation where they didn't have to report, they didn't have to do community service, they were allowed to use drugs, they were allowed not to pay their probation fees, and they were no longer required to take a drug offenders education program? Has they ever done that?
No.
Okay. Now, the defendant was also supposed to do 300 hours of community service. He's done 3.
That's true.
Judge, I'm going to object that this is more argument, Judge. I think it's been asked and answered.
Well, I'm going to ask.
Hold on. sustain the objection. It's already been asked and answered. We're good.
Very good, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Barrientos, anything else?
Judge, I would like to just would like to ask one additional, it's similar to the first question, but I think James, if I can ask you, if at the time that safety was recommended, is it safe to say it was determined that he qualified for safety?
Well, I'm just going by I believe the original judgment when he first got on probation required safety, but that's about what I know.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I will pass the witness, Judge.
Okay. Any additional questions, Mr. Umbridge?
No, Your Honor, nothing further from the state on the matter of violations.
Okay. Okay, so do you rest, state rests, or?
The state rests, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Barrientos, do you have any witnesses you want to call? I assume Mrs. Camacho?
Judge, we will call Mrs. Camacho.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez, if you'll unmute, if I need to do something on this end, you're available?
Yes,
Can you hear
Your
me?
Honor. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
great. Okay, ready to go. Go ahead, Mr. Barrientos.
Okay.
And make sure you allow time for Mr. Hernandez to translate.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Señora Barrientos, la señora Barrientos está enmudecida su micrófono.
Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I need to unmute her. Ask her to unmute, if you wouldn't mind.
Sí, nos hace favor ya. Ahora sí me escucha, ¿puede hablar?
Sí,
Okay, por favor, diga su nombre para que conste en el acta.
mi nombre es Juventina Zúñiga Camacho.
My name is Juventina Zuniga-Camacho.
Señor, excuse me, Mrs. Camacho.
Sí, dígame.
How are you related to the defendant, Mr. Jose Alfredo Zuniga?
Señora Camacho, ¿qué relación, qué parentesco tiene usted con el acusado, con José Alfredo Zúñiga?
Soy su mamá, su madre.
I am his mom, his mother.
Okay. Now, your son basically is at a hearing where the court will determine if they will revoke his probation or deferred probation or continue him. Do you do understand that?
Su hijo básicamente se encuentra ahorita teniendo una audiencia para que el juez decida si se le va a revocar a él su condena condicional o si se le va a reinstaurar. ¿Lo entiende?
Sí.
Yes.
Mrs. Zuniga, where do you live?
Señora Zúñiga, ¿en dónde vive usted?
Yo vivo en Navasota, Texas.
I live in Navasota, Texas.
And I gather that your son can live with you if he is placed back on probation or if the judge continues his probation.
Y me supongo que si el juez le concede a él continuar en probation, en condena
Your
condicional,
Honor,
él va a poder vivir con usted.
Before she answers,
Sí.
I'm going to object to this form of question, Your Honor. This is a matter for punishment, if you will, not the resolution of whether he violated probation or not.
Judge, I'm actually going there. I'd just like some background, a little bit of background.
Okay.
So we
I'll
know.
give a little bit of background, but he's right. We need to kind of move this along.
All right. Okay. Just one more background question. How old was Mr. Zuniga when he entered the United States?
Una pregunta, ¿qué edad tenía el señor Zúñiga cuando él entró a los Estados Unidos?
8 meses.
8 months old.
Now, your son is he based on the last 3 years, has he worked?
Y tomando los últimos 3 años, ¿su hijo ha trabajado él?
He trabajado como le digo, con mis hermanos en esos de chingo, de poner teja, cortar yardas, cuando les salían cortar yardas. Sí he trabajado con mi esposo en construcción, con mi segundo esposo.
He has worked with my brothers, working with shingles, doing yard work, and also with my husband, my second husband, doing construction work.
Now, he was able to make money. Is that correct?
Y él sí podía ganar dinero, ¿correcto?
Sí ganaba dinero.
Where
He-
was where,
Oh, he did earn money.
where was his money going to?
¿Y el dinero de él a dónde iba a dar? ¿Para dónde iba?
Pues él tenía una pareja y ellos, pues, con su familia de ella, pues yo creo que él le daba a ella el dinero.
Before the translation, Your Honor, I'm going to object again. This again goes towards punishment, not whether he actually violated the probation or not.
Judge, if I may respond, there's a relationship between what happens to your money and where it's going to, and why was it not going to probation? So they're interconnected, maybe not as strong as the state would like, but they're there.
You can proceed with your questions.
Mr. Zuniga, he was in a relationship, am I correct?
Señora Zúñiga, él estaba en una relación, ¿correcto?
Sí, tenía su pareja ella.
Yes, he had a partner, yes.
And this woman, isn't it true she had a couple of kids?
Y verdad que esta mujer tenía un par de niños.
Sí, tenía 3 niños.
Yes, she had 3 children.
And it's your understanding that Jose was supporting the children?
Y lo que usted tiene entendido es que José mantenía a él a los niños.
Sí.
Yes.
Did he have any money left over after he gave the money to the kids?
Y
for
después de que
support?
él daba el dinero para mantener a los niños, ¿de que daba a él dinero?
Pues eso sí ya no sé, porque pues era una pareja que pues no le quedaba.
Well, that I don't know because there were a couple, but he didn't have money left.
The judge will pass the witness.
Can I ask a quick question if probation will allow it as well? I mean, prosecution will allow it. Just have one quick question. Are you all both okay with that?
Yes, Your Honor. Please.
Yes, Judge.
This is his mother, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is she aware, does she feel he has or does not have a drug problem?
Pregunta del juez.
Did you ask her if she thinks her?
Mrs. Camacho, do you believe your son has a drug problem?
Señora Camacho, ¿cree usted que su hijo tenga él un problema con drogas?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Okay, Mr. Is that all, Mr. Barrantes?
Yes, Your Honor. It is the purpose of the yes. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Okay.
A couple real quick brief questions, Your Honor. Ma'am, you said your son worked with your brothers and with your husband doing construction work. Did he ever work at a Navasota tire shop that you're aware of?
Señora,
Sí.
dice usted que su hijo trabajó con los hermanos, usted y su esposo. ¿Sabe usted si él alguna vez trabajó en una tienda o taller de llantas en Navasota?
Oh, sí, también trabajó aquí con un llantero de Navasota. Él
Oh,
también.
yes, he also worked here with a tire shop here in Navasota.
Yeah.
And when did he work there?
I'm sorry, Counsel, can you repeat?
And when did he work there?
¿Y cuándo trabajó él ahí?
Pues es que ese señor lo contrataba a veces toda la semana, a veces 3, 4 días de la semana cuando le faltaba un trabajador o así.
Well, that man would hire him sometimes for a whole week or sometimes for 3 or 4 days of a week only whenever he was missing workers and so on.
Okay, so if probation had contacted that tire shop and that tire shop said, no, he hasn't worked for us for 3 years, he would have been lying? Is that what you're saying?
Entonces, si el departamento de probation
Judge is argumentative, Judge.
I don't believe it is, Your Honor. She says that he worked there. I'm asking her, well, then did the other man lie?
I'll allow it.
Entonces, si el departamento de probation se comunicara con ese llantero y le preguntan y él dice que no, que él no ha trabajado ahí en los últimos 3 años, ¿estaría él mintiendo?
Pues yo digo que sí, porque sí lo ocupaba.
Well, I would think so because he did hire him.
Does she have any idea why the employer would lie?
¿Tiene alguna idea de por qué es que aquel...
Judge, cause for speculation.
I am asking if she has any idea. I'm not asking why the employer lied.
I agree. I'll allow it.
¿Tiene alguna idea de entonces por qué aquel patrón mentiría?
Ah, pues eso sí, no sé decirle cuál es eso,
Well,
ese
that
problema, que no
that
quiera
I-
decir eso.
I don't know. I couldn't speak of that.
Okay. The relationship your son had with this woman, those children were not his children. Is that correct?
En la relación que su hijo tenía con esta mujer, esos hijos no eran los hijos de él, ¿correcto?
No son hijos de él,
They are
eran
not,
de su primer pareja de ella.
they are not his children. They were children from her first partner.
Okay. And does she know where that first partner is?
Y sabe ella en dónde, o sabe usted en dónde se encuentra, ¿sabe usted en dónde se encuentra aquella primera pareja?
No sé, la verdad no sé. Pues ellos son de aquí, legítimos de aquí de Estados Unidos. No sé la verdad dónde se encuentra su pareja.
I don't know. I really don't know. They are from here, from the United States, but I don't know where that partner is.
Okay. She said that she believes her son has a drug problem. Has she ever attempted to get her son counseling of any kind?
Dijo usted que usted cree que su hijo tiene un problema con drogas. ¿Alguna vez intentó usted conseguirle a su hijo algún tipo de consejería?
Pues sí, pero como ya era el mayor de edad, pues yo no podía hacer nada, supuestamente.
Well, yes, but since he is older, since he is of legal age, there was nothing I can do.
Okay, so did she try or not? I kind of don't understand the answer to that.
I'm sorry, counsel, did she what?
Did she try to get him counseling or not? Or did
Bueno,
she...
no le entendí muy bien la respuesta. Entonces, ¿trató usted o no de conseguirle ayuda, consejería?
Pues yo siempre le decía que hiciéramos eso, buscar eso, pero y una vez lo llevé al doctor y consejeros de ahí del doctor me dijeron pero que yo no podía hacer nada porque él ya era grande y si él no firmaba y no iba de acuerdo, no iban a poder tampoco ellos ayudarme.
Well, I would always tell him, and once I told him to go to a doctor, but there at the doctor, I was told that there was nothing that I could do because he was already of legal age.
Okay, is she aware of her son? Did he ever seek any kind of help on his own?
¿Está usted enterada si su hijo alguna vez buscó él algún tipo de ayuda él por su cuenta?
Pues no,
Well,
de eso no.
no.
De eso yo no estoy enterada de que él buscara un lugar de esos.
I am not aware. I am not aware that he looked for one of those facilities.
Okay. I'll pass it with Your Honor.
Any
I have
more
no further questions, Your Honor.
Do you rest, Ms. Francis?
No, we call Mr. Jose Zuniga, Judge.
Go ahead.
Jose, let's you're here on a motion to adjudicate. You do understand that, right?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. Let's go back in time because I didn't handle your first case. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
You were originally granted deferred adjudication with sapiens and condition on January the 5th of 2017. Am I correct?
Sure.
Yes. Sometime after that date, you were in the Grimes County Jail. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were waiting to go to safety. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I turned myself in for that.
All right. But you were in Grimes County.
Yes, sir.
All right. Before you went in, were you aware that, well, I'm sorry, when you entered Grimes County, did you soon become aware that an ICE hold been placed on you?
I didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, okay, you didn't know it was going to happen. I understand that. But when you went in, sometime after you went into the Grimes County Jail, an ICE hold was placed on you. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Only if you remember. Do you remember the probation officer go to see you?
Yes, sir.
And who was that?
James Cravey?
And he asked you to sign some documents,
Yes, sir.
and it looks like you refused. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, because I turned myself in for the AP.
All right.
He's the one that brought me to Grimes County.
All right. But you ended up, ICE picked you up, am I correct?
Sir.
Yes, and you were in ICE custody?
Yes, sir.
Uh, Did anybody tell you that if ICE released you, that you had to report to probation? Was that a yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay, you can speak up. I don't know if the, okay,
No, sir.
all right. And ICE, basically, although you probably don't know the legal jargon, but ICE released you, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And how long were you there in ICE?
I was there 4 months.
Okay.
4 months.
And what was going through your mind as far as probation was concerned after you were released?
That it was done and over with.
Okay. So you didn't think you had any more responsibility to probation?
Yes, sir.
So is that a I'm sorry,
Yes,
let
sir.
me rephrase it.
Yes,
Did
sir.
you have, okay. Did you get the impression that everybody thought you were going to get deported after you were picked up from the ICE hole?
Objection calls for speculation, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay. Now, sometime after you got released from probation, I'm sorry, let me rephrase, I'm sorry, strike that. After you got released from ICE, you became aware that, well, actually you were you served with notice to appear sometime back around September 25th of 2019?
Yes, sir.
And you reported to probation?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, you admitted using marijuana. I believe that is what they're alleging.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But in your recollection, there was no laboratory test?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you sometime, just approximately sometime after February of 2020, you stopped reporting, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't report after that. You kind of lost contact. I mean, you disconnected yourself from them, from probation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happened to cause you to?
Well, I had I had a little minor accident and I broke my collarbone at that time. And I was still reporting.
Okay. All right. All right. Were you concerned about COVID at one time?
Objection, Your
Yes,
Honor.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there were some, let's go back to your work situation. Did you work at that tire company for a while? Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I have.
Do you know about how many years or you worked or months?
I was on and off, and the first time I worked there was a year and a half. That was 2015.
All right. But you did work for them for some time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
If I was to go through there now, he'll try to hire me again for,
Did you cut some grass also on the side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did you do anything else?
Yes, construction, I do pretty much anything.
Okay. Were you living with, or you had a relationship with a woman by the name of Christina Garza?
Yes, sir.
How many kids did she have?
3.
Was anybody else living with y'all?
Her nephew.
Okay, was he handicapped?
Yes, sir, he is.
All right. So, did you help to support your girlfriend's
Nephew.
children?
Yes, nephew and children.
All right. How old were these individuals at the time that you were living with her?
Well, one just turned 17. The middle one is 14, and the littlest one is 12.
Yeah. And what was going on? I mean, the real father, where was he at?
He was in prison at that time. I've been with them for 10 years.
Yeah. Now, all this time that you were with her, you were also technically on probation. Am I correct?
Yes.
And the money that you made, what did you do with it?
Well, you know, I spent it on them because I wanted to keep my relationship. And you know, when the COVID came,
Yeah. Let's talk about these kids here. They're not your kids. Am I correct?
Kids, they're not my kids. They're not my
But did you feel sorry for the kids? Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is it safe to say that the money that you were making basically went to support the kids and the nephew?
Yes.
Yeah. Now you know legally they're not your kids, right?
I understand.
So is it safe to say you felt sorry for the kids?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Now, when did I understand you're no longer with this Christina Garza?
No, I'm not.
Yeah. When did y'all separate?
6 months ago.
Okay.
2 months before I got incarcerated.
Now we got a situation here where you realize that you're on probation, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, sometime I'm talking about after February of 2020, around that time. You're still on probation, and in your own words, what caused this problem for you not to report and call probation?
Well, you know, at that time I got a broken collarbone, and then the COVID was going on. And yes, yes, it's my fault that I pick up a phone and report it. I accept that. You know, I'm truly sorry for that too, for not reporting. But when the COVID came, it was really serious.
Let me ask you something, and I don't know if I'm drifting away from the main situation here, but you apparently, it's my understanding you don't want to go to prison. Am I correct?
Well, I have changed. You know, I learned a lesson. And
how long have you been in jail right now since they put you in jail recently? This last
4 months. 4 months.
So we're talking about 120 days incarcerated. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you learned something about that?
Yes, I have learned my lesson. I turned 30 years old in here. I spent Thanksgiving without my family, Christmas, New Year's, and that's a lesson learned for me. I got closer to God, and I'm really truly sorry that I couldn't be responsible for my actions. And
you want to stay on probation, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we got a situation where you haven't paid any money. How are you going to get that situation fixed up?
Well, I know when I go home, if I was to go home now, I got a job. I got a job, and that's my first thing to do. Be responsible for my actions.
Who are you going to work for?
My uncle. It can be my uncle. It can be my own. You know, I do my own. I cut hair. I cut yards. You know, I can go back with my mama's boyfriend, husband.
Okay, but and you're committed 100% to not letting your life. Do you want to salvage your life? I mean, you want to do something positive?
Yes, I want to contribute to society. I want to go the straight road. You know, I don't want to ever do this again. You know,
and you're prepared 100%, 100 committed to.
Yes, sir.
To taking care of business. You got to pay some money.
Yes, sir.
And the roofing company, that's your uncle, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
That's your mother's.
My mother, brother.
Now, this woman that you were involved with, you're no longer with her.
I'm sorry. I'm a single man now.
We're going to pass the witness at this time.
Mr. Zuniga, my name is David Armbruster. I represent the state of Texas. I have a few questions for you as well. The first allegation is that you used a harmful drug, basically marijuana. You acknowledge you used marijuana in September of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you admit to that one. That one is true. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the second one is you failed to report. Now, there is some going back and forth about your ICE hold, but you said that once you got off of ICE, you thought that you were done and over with probation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did anybody at ICE tell you that?
No.
Okay, so why would you believe that?
Because nobody told me.
Okay, so was this your first time on probation? You never had any kind of experience with this before?
No, this ain't my first time.
Okay, so you've been on probation before, haven't you?
Yes.
And so you kind of know how the system works, don't you?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, you've been on probation twice, haven't you? And both of those probations have resulted in revocations, haven't they?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you kind of know how the system works. You know what you're supposed to do, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and no one told you that you didn't have to report. Is that correct?
Yes, no one told me.
No one told you that. And as a matter of fact, even after you were picked up and you were notified that you had to report, you still failed to report for the month of January, February, March, June, and July of 2020. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so even if we were to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that somehow you thought because you spent time in ICE, 4 months, that somehow your 10 years of probation was now done. If somehow we were to agree with that, you're telling me that even in January, after you were told to report, you still didn't report. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you came back, I spoke to your mother a little because your mother claims that she believes you have a drug problem. Now, you admitted to using marijuana, is that correct, to the probation officer?
Sir.
Did you, and you're now apparently telling the court, if I understand correctly, you want to go to Safe P now, right? Is that what you want?
Judge, I think it's a misstatement of the facts. I think he said he wanted his probation.
Hold on, actually, if it's up to you how he wants to answer that, but I had that question, is that something he would want to do at this point?
I will rephrase the question, Your Honor. Right. All right, Mr. Zuniga, let me ask you this then. You want to continue your probation? Is part of that continuation of probation going to Safe P in your mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you want to go to Safe P now?
Hold on. There's a barking dog. I don't know whose dog that is. I didn't hear the question. Let me mute people here. Hold on. Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Zuniga, I'm asking the question one more time because the court didn't quite hear it. I want to make sure it's on the record. You're asking to continue on probation, and part of that probation would be to go to Safe P. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you never told probation in September of 2019 you needed to go to Safe P, did you?
No, sir.
And you never told probation you had a drug problem in 2019, did you?
No, sir.
And you never told probation you did anything but marijuana in 2019. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And your attorney actually asked you this. You just don't want to go to jail. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll keep going. We'll keep going here. Okay. You said you worked for the tire company, and the date you gave was 2015.
Yes,
Now,
yes, sir.
and 2015 was before you were on probation, isn't it?
Yes, I was doing just fine.
Okay, before you were on probation, you were just fine.
Yes, and
Okay.
and when I was on probation.
Okay. And that includes the time when you were doing just fine, when you had that theft in Lufkin, where you were convicted and actually that motion, and you had that probation was, or that deferred was revoked at that time as well. That was in 2016. So you're doing just fine then as well?
Well, that was time served here.
Okay. But it was revoked, right? Your probation was revoked?
Yes.
And you were doing just fine at that time?
Well, it was, I didn't have no transportation.
Okay, sure. Okay, all right. Now you broke up with, well, let me ask you this. You spent your money on the children, correct? These children that are not yours, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what else did you spend your money on?
You know, like lawnmowers, weed eaters.
Okay, all right. And you said you learned a lesson.
Yes,
Isn't it
sir.
true?
Yes, sir. I have learned a lesson.
You learned this lesson after you were facing the threat of going to jail, isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Judge, I have a few, I want to clarify a few things that are important. I think we're dealing with a state of mind in a sense. There are, and let me just ask the questions. Mr. Zuniga, are you a U.S. citizen?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that question. That's irrelevant as to whether he violated probation or not.
Judge, the question that
I agree. Jackson.
Judge, if I may explain, they're saying about going to prison, that he doesn't want to go to prison. There was some discussion, you don't want to go to jail. Well, I want to clarify that if
Ask another question.
Okay, Mr. Zuniga, do you have any fears that if you go to prison, something can happen to you as far as ICE is concerned?
Yes, sir.
Is it your understanding that ICE could?
Is that a yes, sir, or no, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You were, ICE put a hold on you when you went to the Grimes County Jail back in January of 2017.
Yes, sir.
All right. At that time, you were incarcerated.
Yes, sir.
If you get incarcerated again, for example, in prison, do you have a fear that ICE could put a hold on you again?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this question. One, it calls for speculations, what could happen, what could not happen.
All right. Okay. I'll How old are you, Mr. Zuniga?
I turned 31. I just turned 31 on October 19th. I mean, 30 years old. I'm sorry about that.
All right. Do you want to be a responsible person?
Yes, sir.
You have to take care of business.
Yes,
You
sir.
got fines, court costs,
Yes, sir.
etc.
Yes, sir.
You are going to take care of it.
Yes,
As the judge would give you your probation.
Yes, sir. I will.
You want to salvage your life? Do you want to do something good with your life?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, we're gonna pass the witness.
Mr. Ambrose?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Okay,
Just argument.
a couple questions of, it's probably more probation than anything. If we're looking at Safe P, how long are we looking at maybe getting him in there with a COVID at this point? Oh, sorry, did I mute you? Hold on,
Yes, sir.
let me find you out. There you are. Okay, can you unmute?
Yes.
Mr. Craig? Okay. Are you aware of how long the wait period is for Safe P at this point?
I am not aware, sir.
Okay. And the original, my understanding, the original judgment required him to remain in the Grimes County Jail until a Safe P bed became available. Was that my understanding?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm going to do. Go ahead.
Before the court makes that decision, Your Honor, the state would request an opportunity to to basically make an argument concerning this matter, because I think there's some issues that need to be
Yeah, that's
addressed.
fine. If you want to make a closing statement, that's fine.
Right, since the burden is on the state will reserve its right to close, Your Honor, and allow Mr. Barrientos to make his
That's
argument.
fine. We can do that.
Your Honor, if we go back in time, I would infer, and I believe it's a reasonable inference that everybody was on board. The defendant's attorneys, probation, and the judge to address a drug problem, because that's what safety's for. And unfortunately, within a span of probably 20 days, it was removed. My client never really had the benefit of treatment addressing drug dependency. And unfortunately, Judge, drugs have a way where people end up victimizing themselves. Mr. Zuniga has victimized themselves with drugs. Have nothing to, basically, that you end up hurting yourself. And sometimes people need a little bit of help. And I believe that if everybody came to the conclusion that he needed to go to SafeP because of drugs, and drugs, unfortunately, can be very problematic, and certain individuals can't do it by themselves. They cannot take care of themselves and they need somebody to help them. That's what SafeP's for. It is an aggressive program. It's probably the strongest one we have. So I believe that it's it's in the best interest for Mr. Zuniga to go to SafeP. And that's what everybody wanted to do from the get-go. And he just never had the benefit of that. And we asked the court, and we submit to the court that the court consider SafeP as an alternative to incarceration in the penitentiary.
If I may, Your Honor, Mr. Zuniga is now claiming he wants to go to SafeP. Mr. Zuniga had ample time to seek help on his own, and he didn't. He had ample time and ample opportunity to get help from his family, and he didn't. When he came back, when he finally reported back after pretending like he didn't know, even though he knew how the system worked, he'd been on probation twice before, both times revoked because he can't do probation. Even when he came back, he never asked for SafeP. He never asked for treatment help. He never admitted to any drug use except marijuana. As a matter of fact, when they asked what he spent his money on, it was on grass cutters. It was on construction work. It was on a family. He won't even admit now. Before any treatment can be beneficial for anybody, that individual has to admit that he has a problem. I don't think there's anything that's been suggested to suggest he has a drug problem, Your Honor. There's been no test. The only thing we have is one use of marijuana. There's been no test. There's been no claims of it. All we have is his mother, who indiscriminately said, yeah, I think she has a drug problem, very conveniently for Mr. Zuniga. Mr. Zuniga won't admit or won't tell what he's done, supposedly, that is this drug problem. He supposedly, according to his testimony and his mother's testimony, was able to hold down jobs and support 5 people, a woman, her 3 children, and the nephew. All this on a drug problem? The state doesn't buy it, Your Honor. It's not true. It's not true. Mr. Zuniga is trying to get out of this once again. He thought he had an out when he went to when he went to ICE. He came back, even though he knew, because he'd been probation twice, that he was supposed to report in, he didn't. Even after he was picked up and told you have to report, he didn't. In January, February, March, he didn't. He simply said, nope, not going to do it. He had ample time. He had 4 years to do 300 hours of community service, and he's done 3 of them. Mr. Barrientos claimed that these were technical problems. There are technical problems, and technically he did nothing. The state requested this defendant get jail time because he has shown no reason why he needs SafeP. He has shown no regard for the court. He has shown no regard for probation. He is not a good candidate to continue on probation, Your Honor. He will end up going to SafeP, get out, not report, and we'll be back here again in 9 or 10 months. The state requested we handle this right now. He's already had ample time. He's already had ample opportunity. He didn't take it. The state requested the defendant go to jail, the defendant go to the TDC, and the defendant get at least 7 years for a second-degree felony, which he got deferred on and just threw away. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make my ruling. I find by preponderance of the evidence today, based on what I've heard today, that the allegations in the state's second amended motion adjudicate your guilt today to be false at this point. And I'm going to continue the probation, but I am going to go ahead and order safe P. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to go back to where we were, square one, and all the provisions in the original judgment, including the safe P, will be, we'll start over again. And I have serious reservations about that decision today. So Mr. Zuniga-Rodriguez, a lot of what the prosecution is saying is spot on. This isn't your first rodeo. I have serious doubts about some of the statements that were made. But with that said, with what's going on, with COVID at this point, and with the issue of drug use and never being addressed, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But I promise you, if you don't start straightening up and doing what this new judgment says, or this modified judgment says, you will not be happy with my next decision. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Because I'm not seeing hardly any effort in so many ways. Okay, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt this one time. But if I see you back down here, and with issues, the result's going to be totally different.
I truly understand. I truly understand, sir. Your Honor.
All right. With that said, does anybody have any statements, or does anybody have any other? I guess prosecution, you'll handle the paperwork on that.
Probation will end up modifying the documents, Your Honor.
All right. With that said, I guess we'll go ahead and close for the day. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.